Let us sit together for a moment and talk about something that often stays hidden in the shadows of our financial world. When we think about our future, we often think about our own savings and our own little buckets of peace. But there is a bigger story unfolding around us, a story of promises made to millions of workers who have dedicated their lives to serving the public. These promises are called pensions, and today they are facing a quiet crisis that affects all of us more than we might realize. I am sitting here in Chicago, a city full of history and life, but also a city that tells a very specific story about money and debt. It is often said that this place is not just corrupt in a simple way, but that it has a way of being theatrically complex with its problems. When we look at the state of Illinois, we see a pension system that is struggling at the very bottom of the ladder. The way the laws are written here makes it very difficult to fix the issues, and that creates a heavy weight for everyone who lives here. But before we look too closely at one place, let us take a gentle look at the bigger picture of public finance across America. There are 50 states, and each one of them has a system designed to care for their public employees when they grow old. Right now, there are over 13 million people working in these jobs and over 11 million people already receiving their pensions. That is almost a 1-to-1 ratio, which means for every person working, there is another person drawing from the pot. This balance is delicate, and it is part of the reason why taxes have been slowly rising in so many places. The public pension system in this country is actually the second biggest in the entire world, right after Social Security. There are trillions of dollars held in these funds, but there is also a very large gap of money that has been promised but does not exist yet. Most states have about 80% of what they need, which means for every $5 they owe, $1 is missing. While that sounds a bit scary, it is actually an improvement from where things were 10 years ago. Back then, many states were in an even deeper hole, so we have seen some progress. Even if the road ahead is still long, we have lived through 18 years where these systems have stayed below the level of being fully funded. The big storm that started much of this was the market crash back in 2008. That was a time when investments lost value, just as a large generation of workers began to reach their retirement age. It was a difficult timing that created a gap that has been hard to bridge ever since. The improvement we see today is not always because of better choices or careful planning by those in power. Mostly it is because the stock market has done incredibly well over the last decade. The value of the biggest companies has tripled and other private investments have seen record growth. Yet even with the best market performance in history, the funding for these pensions only improved a tiny bit. It makes us wonder what will happen when the markets are not quite so kind and the path becomes more choppy. Interestingly, almost every pension fund in the country has actually performed worse than a simple mix of stocks and bonds. Most wealth managers suggest a simple 70% stock and 30% bond strategy, or even 60-40. But these big institutional funds often fail to meet that basic benchmark for a few quiet reasons. Sometimes the people managing the money are influenced by things other than just making the best return for the workers. They might follow political trends or invest in things that sound good in the news but do not actually grow the wealth. Another quiet truth is that the most talented investors usually go to work where they can earn the most for themselves. It is rare to find the very best minds working for state governments, because the pay and the rewards are not the same. We often pay sports coaches at state universities the highest salaries, but perhaps it should be the people managing the pensions. Their performance affects the pockets and the peace of mind of every single citizen in the state. After the big crash years ago, many states started a two-tier system for their workers. People who started their jobs more recently often have fewer benefits or a different kind of plan than those who came before. This helps the states lower their future debt. But it also means younger workers are carrying a different kind of burden. Right now, there are only a few states that are considered fully solvent with enough money to keep every promise. Tennessee, South Dakota, and Washington State are leading the way in this quiet responsibility. Others like Wisconsin and Utah are very close to reaching that goal of 100%. It is not really a matter of whether a state is red or blue. It is about how carefully they manage the trust of their people. Then there are the states at the bottom, where for every dollar they have, they owe almost another full dollar they do not have. Illinois is at the very bottom, even though they have worked hard to improve from where they were. Kentucky, New Jersey, and Mississippi are also struggling in this same lower bracket. Often these places are known for having complex political systems where it is easy for money to be mismanaged. There is a strong link between how much corruption is felt in a state and how healthy their pension system is. When money is used for personal projects or hidden favors, it is the future of the retired workers that pays the price. If we look at the debt on a per-person basis, the numbers can feel quite heavy for an average family in Illinois every person technically owes thousands of dollars to cover the gap in public pensions. Places like Connecticut and Alaska also have very high levels of debt for every citizen living there. Sometimes this is due to mismanagement, and sometimes it is just because of how many people are retired compared to those working. Some states have made big improvements by restructuring how they pay their workers or by saving extra money during good years. West Virginia is a beautiful example of a state that found a sustainable way to balance their books. They focused on long-term health rather than quick fixes or just raising taxes to fill a hole. To truly fix this problem across the country, there are only a few paths we can take. One path is just to hope and pray that the stock market keeps going up forever at a very fast pace. But hope is not a very solid foundation for a house or a retirement plan. Another path is to ask public workers to contribute more of their own paychecks to keep the system alive. Some states choose to cut benefits, but that can feel like breaking a promise to someone who has already given their career. Some people even quietly hope that retirees will not live quite as long as the charts say they will. But that is a very sad way to look at human life. And the truth is that people are living longer and healthier lives than ever. The people who earn the most during their careers often live the longest, meaning the pension funds have to pay out for many years. Another hidden issue is the math used to guess how much the investments will grow in the future. Many states use a number that is way too high just to make their debt look smaller on paper. They might assume they will earn 7 or 8% every single year without fail. But a more honest and grounded number would be much lower, closer to what the bond market actually pays. If they used more realistic math, the debt would look much larger, which is why many politicians avoid the truth. Returning to the story of Illinois, the situation is unique because their constitution actually forbids cutting pensions. They are legally required to pay the full amount even if the money is not there. When a normal business cannot pay its debts and cannot lower its costs, it goes through a process of starting over, but states do not really have that option in the same way, so they are left with very few choices if you cannot cut the debt and you cannot start over. The only thing left to do is to raise taxes. Illinois has one of the highest sales taxes and property taxes in the entire country because of this. They keep trying to find new ways to collect money from their citizens to fill a gap that never seems to close. The trouble is that when taxes get too high, people who have the choice will simply move away. Chicago is a beautiful city with a heart of gold, but its weather is not so unique that people will stay through any hardship. Unlike California, which has a climate you cannot find anywhere else, Illinois faces competition from all sides. A person can move just a few miles into Wisconsin or Indiana and find a similar life with much lower taxes. Even some of the famous sports teams in Chicago are talking about moving their homes to find a better deal. When the people who create wealth and the retirees move away, there are fewer people left to pay the bills. This creates a cycle where taxes must go up even more for the people who stay behind, which causes more people to leave. It is a difficult loop to break, and it requires a kind of honesty that is often rare in politics. The bottom line is that the pension system is not as broken as it was a decade ago, but it is far from being healed. If the stock market has a long downturn, we will see these stories back in the news very quickly. We are in a period of transition as a large generation moves into retirement, and the system is being tested. For those of us who are younger, this is a reminder to build our own lives on the foundation of simplicity and truth. We cannot always rely on the big systems to keep their promises if they are built on shaky math and hidden debt. True financial peace comes from making our own way and being mindful of the world around us. I want us to look at these big numbers, not with fear, but with a clear eye so we can make better choices for ourselves. It is about finding that bottom line of confidence that allows us to sleep at night. Maybe that means choosing to live in a place that is managed with more responsibility and care. Or maybe it means working together to demand more transparency from the people who hold the purse strings. Money is just a tool, and when it is used honestly, it can create a beautiful and stable society. But when it is used to hide problems or fund personal dreams at the expense of others, it creates a heavy shadow. I want to help you find the light in your own financial life, far away from the complex games of big institutions. Let us keep our own buckets simple and our own hearts full of peace. As I finish recording this today, the sun is starting to set and the noise of the city is beginning to soften. The world has a way of working itself out, but it usually requires us to face the truth first. I am so grateful that you took the time to sit with me and think about these big and heavy topics. It is not always easy to talk about debt and taxes, but it is how we grow and become more grounded. If you found a little bit of clarity in our chat today, I hope you will carry that with you into your week. We are all in this together, navigating a world that can feel a bit overwhelming at times. But when we share our thoughts and our experiences, the path becomes a little clearer for everyone. I will be back next week with more stories and more ways to help you find your financial peace. Until then, take a deep breath and remember that your worth is not defined by a number on a screen. It is defined by the kindness you show and the honesty you bring to your own life. Take care of yourself and those you love, and I will see you very soon. The birds are still singing even when the numbers do not add up, and there is beauty all around us if we look. Let us focus on the gentle side of wealth and the quiet side of success. Everything is going to be all right if we stay patient and keep our hearts in the right place. I am sending you so much warmth from Chicago, and I hope your day is filled with little moments of joy. Goodbye for now, and stay safe and grounded. We will talk again very soon. Bye.